Alright, this is the full video for the Dimensional Depot in Satisfactory. I was going to say in real life. This is kind of what it looks like in the game. You can kind of see it kind of glows. Oh my goodness, purple. Wouldn't that be so much better for this kind of thing? Of course it would. So let's take a look. I do have it modeled so where it will sit right on top of this. On the inside here, let's see here, we even have a Mercer sphere that spins. I did not glue this top piece down yet. I just haven't decided exactly what I want to do with that. Probably going to glue it down. But let's take a look here on both sides, all sides. Both sides are going to be the same. Now, I do have these purple things actually left. They actually just clip in right now. And so they can pop out because I've got some acrylic glass that I want to put inside of there. But yep, anyway, let's take a look at the bottom because that's going to be the cool part of this Dimensional Depot. Yep, as you can see here, the top kind of popped off. But these things here are clipped, so they can just kind of clip in. I even have one on this side. And one thing I was really worried about this thing, I was worried about, hey, this thing's like floating and it's all going to be attached to here. I'm actually really happy with this thing. It's very sturdy. Once it's kind of glued on both ends, I don't feel like it's going to tip or whatever. But yep, we can kind of see this Mercer sphere from the bottom side here. So we can get in there, move it around if we want to. Now this is the cool part. And so I have this light in here right now. Let me just plug it in right now. It's kind of based on a USB. And so if it is sitting close to your computer on it, you have a light. And then you've got your purple that it's going to be kind of glowing and stuff. So that'd be pretty cool. Let's just put this back on real quick. Just kind of sits in there. Again, I have some acrylic glass that's coming in the mail, so I'm gonna laser that for this. But I do have this thing almost printing with no supports, and so you can kind of see here I even added kind of some window bars because the way this thing prints, I just needed to have some support in there. And then the whole roof is kind of angled. I do have some supports in this model, and I wanted to show you guys that because this is one thing I was really concerned with. There's just a crazy ton of supports here to kind of do it. I had this thing kind of split up into a bunch of little pieces. It just was not strong enough on the ends. It just wouldn't line up very well. So I had to do some supports. So there you go. Now you would think, oh my, it's going to look terrible. I have not even taken a lighter or anything to this thing yet. Let's see if I can get this close enough to focus. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell that there's some messed up filament in there, but take a little bit of a lighter to it and kind of warm it up, and it looks perfect. Good enough because, you know, I needed some supports in there. But anyway, this thing's really cool. And, you know, again, I have these kind of things. And so I actually do have it coming in the mail some of these kind of things, these big, long strip lights. And that's what I really wanted to do. I have a hole in here, and so you can kind of put lights in this whole thing. Then hopefully that Mercer sphere kind of lights up. Down here, going to light up both sides, going to light up the end. And so that's why I wanted to have these things just easily clip. And I redid these a few times just to make them work. They clip in really nice and tight, no glues needed, and they don't wear out. So I've taken them in and out a bunch of times, but I am really happy with this Dimensional Depot. And it just sits right on top of there really easily. Kind of, it's really sturdy because the ladder is actually hooked up into these little clips right here. Yep. So if you've printed these storage containers in the past, I actually did add an extra little clip here. Now that is actually part of the game. I just for some reason forgot to put it on when I first originally did this model. But let's just take a look at a few of the parts on the inside. I don't know if I'm really going to do like a build and install video on this. I probably should, but I have tried to like label the parts here for this thing. There is a B, and that means bottom, okay? So if you're looking at this thing, goes on the bottom. And as far as, you know, if you guys don't want to watch the build and install video, these little black parts right here, the way to kind of distinguish which ones are which is there's some like bigger flanges here at the top, and that's going to be all your top pieces. So like those are tops and these are bottoms, where there's no bigger flanges on these, and there's some bigger flanges on that one. Same thing with like the littler parts. Like there's like a flange on this one, and so that's actually part of the top. Now I did kind of build little pins, and so these pins have a brim on them when they're printed, and then they can just go into the holes. Okay, in the end, I do put glue in there, and then, you know, just kind of all pins together, so that's really nice. Makes it kind of sturdy. And then when you put this piece in the corner as well, I kind of modeled it to where it would just kind of go into the corners here, and you can kind of see here I've modeled right there is kind of like an indent, and then here is going to be like a bigger indent, so it can kind of just all sit in there, kind of clip together. I did, you know, print this whole kind of thing in all in one piece. I do have these little pipe things that are printed separately. Some silver pieces you can kind of see kind of just sit on top of the pipes and stuff. But overall, really happy with this thing. And once I have it just completely lit up with these kind of things, I think it'll just be glowing crazy, and that'll be really cool. But anyway, if you guys are interested in that, I'll have this video directly on the MakerWorld video. So if you guys are interested in printing it, you can kind of just check it out here before you guys get on it. But the ladders, you know, there's only 2 different ladders, and so you can kind of see this is flat, and it kind of, the ladder goes out. So I've got the flat ladder here, and then one's going this direction, and then these ones are just opposite. But overall, these parts can be mismatched. They don't. It doesn't matter which side they go on. Same at the bottom. So it's not going to be really hard to kind of put this thing together or make any kind of mistakes on what pieces go where. Little trim pieces of orange that's printed separately, and then almost everything else is kind of printed all together. So really wanted to get down on less assembly of everything. Now, I am going to put a profile up there, so if you guys do have an H2D bigger series, you won't have to install any of these things. They can all be printed together because the print bed is much larger. And I should have done that myself, but I didn't think about it, and I still kind of model, and I have to model for the smaller 256 millimeter bed, because that is what the majority of people have. They have the A1s, and they have the P1s, and the X1 carbons over there. So don't worry, I will always still model with the pieces in mind to where, you know, you can do it. Now, unfortunately, like if you have the A1 Mini, anything can be done inside of Bamboo. You can just split this thing in half. And so if you are really wanting to print this thing and you have the A1 Mini, I don't have a profile up for the A1 Mini. All you have to do is chop it right in half. And so it is simple for you to do. If you have the A1 Mini, you guys need to learn how to do that inside of the Bamboo software, and you can print so many more things. But I am just not comfortable actually cutting these in half, because then it will just be not as stable. And so, you know, you're going to have to put a lot of glue on there, and then maybe kind of like, you know, print something flat to go there. So, but there you go. There's the Dimensional Depot. Pretty cool. If you guys are still here watching, listening to me ramble on, let me know you guys appreciate it. And if you guys are sticking around this long, send a boost over. I always appreciate them. Allows me to buy more filament to do even more projects like this. Alright, we'll see you guys.